This is the emergency podcast system. This is not a test. Movies are bombing all over the country. They are posing as movies you already know. They may already be in your theaters, your neighbor's home, or even your own. Do not panic. Specialists have been dispatched. They will help you identify these pretenders and defend you against this invasion of the remake. Please stand by for further instructions.
Welcome to the Invasion of the Remake podcast. I'm your host, Jason Bishop, and with me are my wonderful co-hosts back in the studio. Today is Sam Stepanenko.
Yay!
He's back!
And the mother of the mothership, Trish Coughlin.
The mother of the mothership. Am I the alien queen? That is what I will accept.
Somewhere I gotta find the Ripley clip of, the whole bitch line.
Yeah. Yes, you do.
I'm alien queen or nothing.
I know a couple of our lamer YouTube fans. Yeah, you know who you are. The women-hating ones.
Yeah. Fuck you all.
You're very divisive sometimes. Most people, the guys who like it, I mean, we have episodes on there that are over 2,000 views.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck all comments, but every time I do get a comment on YouTube, it's, I'd say about 1 out of 3 is like a dickhead comment.
Yeah.
Which is way too high of a ratio for how few comments we're getting.
Yeah, I know.
That's pretty much
but
YouTube comments, though.
That's the internet.
Well, that's YouTube. The people who comment there, the biggest contribution they made to YouTube is that fucking comment. They don't make content.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They sit at home in the dark, not doing anything, judging other fucking people.
And we hope you listen to this, you assholes.
Yeah, exactly. We
Get
know
lives.
you're in your mom's fucking basement.
So this week I was in a weird mood. I wanted to do a weird movie, and
Mission accomplished.
it is, but at the same time,
But I like it.
It didn't really fill my weird quotient, but it does have some wacky, way out there ideas.
But we can make it weird.
Especially for 1972. This is a UK film called The Asphyx. Let that sink in for a moment. Also known as The Horror of Death.
Yep.
By director Peter Newbrook, and this was his only directorial effort. He'd done camera and electric work on little movies like Bridge on the River Kwai and Lawrence of Arabia, so the guy kind of knows his shit.
And I'm surprised he didn't get more directing work, because the direction was good.
Oh,
This
yeah.
is actually a pretty good movie. The story was written by Christina and Lawrence Beers, and the screenplay was written by Brian Comport. Again, the story was their only screen credit on this. I couldn't even find numbers for this as far as what it might have done financially, so maybe it just didn't resonate. But 1972, I mean, this movie's certainly it looks like a Hammer movie. It feels like a Hammer movie.
It really does, yeah.
It's not a Hammer movie.
Is it
but
Amicus or no?
I wish I would have written it down, but it's not Hammer. And they're definitely invoking that Hammer feel, for sure.
The Victorian age. And
Very gothic.
Yeah.
The Victorian Gothic horror. Although, I could certainly see how some little bit more of push into the steampunk territory might be fun in the remake. Because
yeah.
he invents a lot of modern things in this movie.
Yeah,
There's a lot going on.
Yeah, there's quite clearly near the end of the Victorian era because they had electricity and they had technology, right, film and so on. So I don't know if it kind of did already sort of kind of push on the steampunk territory, because it was right near that cusp, right?
Mm-hmm.
Completely.
But yeah, it would be fun to go more of a steampunk, even more than it did already.
Exactly. I have ideas.
Well, that is the whole point, because we are going to be remaking The Asphyx. And it stars a whole bunch of people nobody's ever heard of here in Canada and America, probably in North America. But stars Robert Powell, Robert Stevens, Jane Lapotaire, Alex Scott, Ralph Arliss, and Fiona Walker. Mm-hmm. And I'd say Robert Stevens is probably the one with the most credits. He'd been in like Empire of the Sun, so
True, but Robert Powell had quite a few credits. I recognized him a lot more than the other
It's
guy.
a good group of actors for the most part. There's a few wibbly wobbly moments in the movie
Yeah.
where the acting's, but
And I'm
that could
also-
just be some weird
I was
dialogue.
going to say it was more the dialogue. There were some
Because
really
it's very
weird-
Victorian,
Yeah.
kind of Shakespearean-esque
Exactly.
dialogue. Well, that Shakespearean's not. It's maybe doing a disservice, but that
No.
stiffer,
That
proper,
formal.
Upper crust,
that
proper, yeah.
that posh dialogue that you would get from that era.
Yeah, it's very those movies, those period pieces, that kind of Sense and Sensibility sort of
Yeah,
Jane Eyre type of deals.
yeah. That's exactly right. So the Asphyx is the spirit of death. It's,
Yeah.
for lack of any kind of better term, it's the way the character explains it. It's this spirit that possesses someone in the moment of their death. It kind of feeds on their fear and those
Yeah.
last moments. To be honest, it makes no fucking sense.
No, and it's very Banshee-like, which is weird.
Oh, I loved it.
and everybody has their own.
That was
It's
yeah.
1972. This was Slimer before he got a disorder,
And
an
I was
eating
actually going to
disorder.
make that comparison as well because he was very, very Slimer-esque, wasn't he?
Yeah. It was very much Slimer-esque.
Or some of those the Muppets, they had some like ghosties.
Oh, sure. It
That's
was
what it looked
probably
like.
not much more than a sock on a few sticks.
Yeah, there was some puppetry.
As I was watching this movie, I'm like, I wonder how many movies that we know and love were actually to a certain extent influenced by this movie, where a director or a writer had seen it and gone, you know what, I really like that thing in the Asphyx, and I'm going to co-opt it and make it my own, right? So like Slimer, like you mentioned.
Yeah, Slimer looks very much like a chubby version of the Asphyx.
Really
Exactly.
does. And I saw comparisons to Flatliners.
Oh,
Yes.
I mean, instead of giving us the Asphyx, they gave us these horrific stories, right? While they were dead. But there's definitely inspiration there. You can almost, I'm sure, like the writers of that drew some inspiration from.
And
this
you talk
movie.
about Slimer, the capturing of the ghost itself is an idea.
Yeah, the whole idea of the whatever the heck they're called. I can't even remember. Brain part.
Asphyx?
No, the Asphyx. No, what the Ghostbusters used.
Oh, the accelerate.
Nuclear accelerator packs.
Thank you.
Yeah. I'm out of practice.
An unlicensed nuclear accelerator on their backs. Yes.
But yeah, I mean that correlates as well, right? The idea of a portable.
Well, it's
Except
kinda
they
true.
cross the streams in this one. The two beams of light.
That's true. That's how they capture it.
Yeah.
They move it from the light to the trap.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
also correlates.
Exactly.
It does all correlate, absolutely. And I love how they use kind of Victorian era technology, like the lighting in the guy's mansion's all gas,
Yep.
which is later comes into play in. Look, I'm gonna
Yeah.
save that. I'm gonna save that because it's nuts.
It's good. It's a very Twilight Zone-y ending.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's ironic. I like the fact that the Asphyx, it's not the villain of the film. It's just kind of there. It's like Crimson Peak, where you've got the ghosts, but they're not really the thrust of the story.
No, it's very much the characters themselves are, and I mean, there's no bad guy in this movie,
No.
right? This is really a study of the human condition and the desire for immortality.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what I was getting to by capturing the Asphyx. Initially, Robert Stephen, who is Sir Hugo Cunningham, the family leader of the Cunninghams,
Yeah.
he's got his son Clive, his daughter Christina, and his adopted son Giles. And they're all of age now where they're getting ready to probably leave the nest soon.
Oh, yeah.
And Clive he was living in Sweden or Switzerland or something like that.
Yeah, and just come
Yeah.
back. And Hugo was going to be getting married again to Anne Wheatley, who was his fiancée, played by Fiona Walker.
Yes.
So it was bringing her back to meet the family. They were going to have
Meet his children.
meet his children, and have a fairly quick wedding. And he's like, while his children are going to be fleeing, he's really kind of already thinking about, well, we need to keep the family line going. So, and
Yeah.
thinking about more children.
Yes,
Yeah,
because-
I think he's also kind of essentially there's a loneliness to him which drives a lot of this.
Yeah, and he's an
Yes.
aristocrat too. He's used to being a leader, guiding the government and for moral things. He's a photographer.
Yep.
One of the first.
In the psychological society.
Yeah.
Right, and that sort of ties into exactly sort of how he discovers the Asphyx.
Yes, by taking pictures of corpses and people just on the verge of death, and he starts noticing these smudges
Yep.
from these shots, and different photographers are coming up with this too. So it's different photographers, 3 different photographers, 3 different sets of equipment, 3 different methods,
And they can't all
and they're all
have problems
capturing
with
this smudge on the film. And initially they think it's the soul escaping.
them. Yep. Which kind of makes more sense.
It does, but then it wouldn't. Well, I mean, you could twist it on its head and have the soul trapped, and you can't die if your soul.
Yeah, you're soulless, but you live forever. That would be a freaking ironic
Well,
whole thing, right?
There's this,
that's like that's vampirism. Like when you
Yeah.
become a vampire, apparently.
well,
you kind of lose
there's
your
a
soul.
dark aspect to what he's discovered in death. It's basically like, well, your soul's not escaping; it's getting eaten by this thing.
Yeah.
and everybody's got one waiting. Like every living thing's got an asphyx just waiting to devour their death.
That's what I found weird. Is like everybody has their own. It's one, and they get one meal, and that's it forever. That's why it seemed weird.
Yeah, and I didn't do the research, but apparently this is based on Egyptian legend. I believe he said in the movie.
Oh, I missed that bit.
Yeah, I might have missed that too.
Yeah,
or I just didn't digest it.
Yeah, no,
They were talking a lot about the Asphyx. And I was trying to
There's a
get
lot
hold
of dialogue that's sometimes becomes a little
Becomes a little
difficult
dense.
to
a little
follow.
unwieldy, yeah. But I do remember him talking about how the Asphyx was something that he.
Yeah, actually, that is earlier in the film. Now that I think about it, I don't remember if it's Egyptian or not, but Egyptian seems to fit.
Certainly, yeah. Especially if you look at the name and stuff
Yeah.
like that, it does seem to fit very well.
Yeah, and especially given the time too.
Oh yeah, because you're going to be in the next few years. You'd be going into that whole Egyptian craze.
Yeah, well, in 1875, yeah, they would have been totally the whole.
Like it hit peak in the 30s, but it was ramping up around that time.
Yeah, I think it was already starting to ramp up around then. So I think they'd already discovered King Tut's tomb. So
Really, that early?
was it that early? Maybe it was later.
I don't think so. I think it was like the early 1900s.
Somebody go back to listen to our Mummy episode where we
Yeah.
actually it was still fresh in our heads.
I'm pretty sure it
back
was early
then.
1900s, but
Yeah,
But certainly that Egypt.
but exploration was certainly a big
Yes.
deal at the time.
oh yes, that was like a lot of the like Jules Verne, that whole thing, just discovering areas of the world.
It always has been fascinating, but more so now or then because people are starting to discover this advanced culture that predates their own, right? Mm-hmm. And it still fascinates us, to be honest.
Well, in any other parts of the world, like it was sort of that time people were kind of actually traveling because it became more an actual viable option.
Yeah,
So you were able to see more of the world and know more different cultures, and you didn't have to just be like a super explorer to do it.
Yeah, and spend months on a creaky old ship getting somewhere, right?
Exactly.
well, I think I'll run the trailer for the Asphyx, which is amazing. And then,
We recommend you watch.
and then we will come back and talk more about this movie. And incidentally, if you do want to watch the movie, we did find an extended version of this film on YouTube. It actually edited in a bunch of deleted scenes. And it was really interesting, too, because you had this cleaned up master
really
footage that looked really good.
Yeah.
And then the deleted stuff that wasn't, which my guess was it just never was intended for the film. But it's edited in, and you can see all this stuff and what essentially is the full director's cut up on YouTube.
It's well done.
So go see it while it's still there.
Yeah.
I don't know if it should be or not, but that's where I found it.
Yeah, who knows? Well, the fact that we could find very little on this. Who knows who has the copyright on this?
Yeah, that's a tricky one for sure. So anyway, I'm going to run the trailer and we'll talk about more of this on the other side.
Now, get ready. The pole's stuck.
Hey! On that branch!
At the first sign of death, it begins a cry of torment that drives the dying mad. The Asphyx, more than a myth, more than a maybe.
A smudge, And another one here. And finally, another here. Gentlemen, what you have seen, what we have recorded, is the soul at the moment it departs the body.
The Asphyx. More than a myth. More than a maybe.
Good grief. I tell you, it saw me.
Here is a man a minute from death, without a soul, with only one way back, through the secret of the Asphyx.
Train light on the Asphyx.
The force within you that brings insanity at the instant of death. From birthday to death day, controls the most terrifying moment of your life. Your death. The Asphyx. The Asphyx. More than a myth. More than a maybe.
More than an if, more than a maybe. What the fuck does that even mean?
Almost certain?
There's some weird wordplay there that probably takes some effort to decipher.
Yeah.
And I'm just not willing. So if anybody knows what that means, just go ahead and let me know in the comments.
Yeah, it's not quite a yes, but almost a yes.
Yeah. It's like we don't know for sure, but we don't not know for sure.
I'm like 87.5% certain.
There we go. Yes, that's what it is. 87.5%. That was Sam.
I'm pi certain. There we go.
Nice. 3.14159.
Once you get to the end of pi, then you can do it. Then
Yeah.
it's certain.
There we go, exactly.
Well, it's pretty big. It's non-repeating, and nobody's found the end.
Almost
Yeah.
a if, not quite a maybe. Something
Maybe.
like that.
I don't know.
Yeah.
So, Hugo's getting a little more obsessed with this
Super
smudge.
catalyst.
It is a bit of a catalyst. He's made a discovery, and as any scientists go, they want to further their knowledge and
Yeah.
trying to figure this out and trying to be in the right place at the right time. But it doesn't really take a head because, he's getting married.
Yeah.
So he's taken some nice photography pieces with his sons and daughters and his wife.
Wife to be. Not quite
Wife
as
to
much
be. Wife to be. The fiancé.
He's experimenting with his motion picture.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got the
And
motion
this is
picture
where I like that this is kind of steampunk because he's invented a moving picture camera.
Mm-hmm.
And it's basically slides moving really fast. But
Yeah.
I really like that he's invented the movie camera, essentially.
Yeah.
And it's not the only thing he invents along the way. He invents the studio lighting and
for
the
sure.
electric chair,
Yeah.
My
the
gosh.
gas chamber.
Yes.
He's
He's not devoid of ideas.
no,
he's-
for 1875, he's doing pretty good.
Yeah. Well, he's also wealthy enough to buy the stuff to do everything he wants to do.
That's true.
That is definitely a factor.
Yeah, so he's a pretty smart dude.
And he's a man at loose ends. He doesn't work. He doesn't have. His job is to be rich.
Yeah.
Really, and to be involved in the politics of the time. And,
How do I get that job?
Yeah, and be a leader.
You got to be the right sperm going for the right egg, unfortunately.
It's right. That's really what it comes down to is the family you're born to, especially then, right?
Oh, for
Right.
sure. And Giles just happened to be adopted. Like, he lucked out.
Well, he was left on their doorstep. They talk about that as well.
He was left on the doorstep of the place they get the other guy.
Oh, that's right. Yes, but he took for some reason
sanitarium,
he took him
I
in
think.
as his ward, right? Mm-hmm. Which makes the relationship between him and his daughter less weird.
Yeah.
Yes, because Christina and Giles are definitely
They're in love.
everything. They're definitely in love.
But that's, I don't know. I think that's sort of a Victorian thing. They weren't too hung up on how closely related you were, I don't think. As long as you were of the right class. I think that was more important somehow.
Well, I mean, you think about it, and especially as you got higher up in the royals and so on. Their cousins marrying cousins all the time, right?
Exactly.
Right. So it wasn't uncommon for that. And
We talk about Egypt, not as bad as the Egyptians, though.
That's right. Yeah.
That was brother and sister marrying
That's true. Yeah.
a lot.
But yeah. Nobody understood genetics, and they thought that their royals were likened to gods, right? So
Yeah.
they didn't want to contaminate that by
Yeah.
marrying into lesser.
What's that weird hump?
bloodlines, right?
Yeah. Well, to be fair, Cleopatra was very intelligent and spoke like 12 languages, so in some instances it kind of worked.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, it's weird to us and kind of revolting to us, let's face it, in our day and age. But back then, who knows how they felt about it?
Yeah. And I mean, like, they both know that he's adopted. They're like, yeah, no, we're not like blood related. So this is okay. Like, she's not really into Clive, who is her biological brother.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, so
They know
there you
enough.
And they know that it's a little sketchy because they're worried about her
Yeah.
father's approval, right? They're
Sure.
not sure that he's going to approve of the fact
Yeah.
that they've fallen in love as adults.
go. Yeah, they take a long time before he just finally says, "You guys are in love. It's fine."
Yeah. Like, he knew the whole time.
Yeah.
And they think they're keeping it a big secret.
Yeah, exactly.
In fact, that's what he tells Anna. At one point, he's like, "Yeah, no, they really are partial to each other. I know this."
Yeah. Well, and I mean, there's a dead giveaway in the scene that sort of unearths the discovery of the Asphyx, right? Where they're waiting for him to start filming, and she's leaning back on him like a lover would,
yeah.
Yeah.
right? It's like, duh.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Yeah.
Val, I know you hate that term, but really, this is a duh moment.
We can't change it up to der. That's doy. Do. There we
So
go.
anyway, he's testing out his moving pictures camera. They found this nice stream, and they're just boating across it. That's just basically
He's
the
making
basic
clips.
scene. He's just taking a few clips. So he has his son Clive go across with his wife. But before that's the second one. At first, it's Giles and his daughter. They come across, and there's awkwardness and joking.
Yeah.
And then it's the other two. And Clive gets his pole stuck in the muck and mire. And
He can't get it out.
He can't quite get it out, and turns around just in time to get his head smacked by a tree limb
Yeah.
that's hanging over, and then the boat capsizes. And
She can't swim.
She can't swim. He's unconscious, and of course, this little lake, stream, whatever pond thing it's just black as pitch, as they like to say in
Yeah.
the movie. It was black as pitch in there. So
Giles
there
tries
was
to
no
go in,
saving
but he
them.
couldn't see them.
Yeah, you just couldn't see them. So they're both gone,
And rather
and it
quickly,
was captured on film.
yeah, this is one thing what I would definitely change in the film is not necessarily the manner of their deaths, but that stream is really placid. Like, it's really placid.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, they're having no problem moving upstream towards the camera.
Yeah.
So for them to have disappeared so quickly in what is clearly
Yeah.
not that deep of water either.
Well, but Anna was caught adrift, which is funny because it doesn't look like there's any movement to that water whatsoever.
Exactly, and then all of a sudden
she's
there's rapids.
Yeah, she's carried
Yeah.
upstream to this rapids and goes over the weir.
Yeah. Yeah, there's got to be more movement in that water.
There has to be, because
Yeah.
I that was one of the things I'm like, oh, that was just so bad.
It was bad.
One of the few things I felt was really bad in the movie.
Yeah, it's really forced.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it doesn't work very well.
Yeah. I mean, the concept works really well. Right? The accidental death and
Yeah.
that kills both of them accidentally is fine, but yeah, make it more believable.
Yeah, I agree. There needs to be some changes there for sure. I mean, part of me, I'm of the mind, like, well, you could just update this to modern times, but I like the Victorian
There's no
era.
way.
Oh, I
Change it
want to
from
keep it
Yeah,
in
and
that time frame.
I'm not going to change it either as far as the time setting goes. I really like the Victorian era gothicness of it all.
And there's a couple of bits that kind of I feel would be dependent on that time frame.
I might soften up a little bit on the stiff language, but only just a touch.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
we'll steampunk it up.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, I totally want to embrace some of the steampunk aspects of it, and to a little bit of a crazier level. But
Yeah.
Oh yeah, like when that opening scene where well, not the opening scene because the opening scene is a little bit different, but the first scene where you see Hugo, where he's coming up in his horse and carriage, I love to see him like in like a steam powered car, right? just to like add some more of how inventive he really is.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
He built the first steam powered car that anybody's ever seen in the area.
Yeah, that'd
Like
be cool.
have some of those fun around the world in 80 days type
Yeah.
of deals.
Yeah, just to show he's showing off how smart he is.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we see the opening scene. We see him with that horse-drawn carriage, and it would be pretty amazing if he rolled up in that instead.
Yeah, and it would kind of play into some of the arrogance he shows later in the film. Which sort of he's always been arrogant. He's just better at hiding it until he loses his son, and then he kind of snaps and goes a little bit crazy.
Yeah, his son and fiance are gone.
Yeah, so he buries his. Well, he doesn't bury his son. His son is put in a mausoleum
tomb.
in the mansion, and it's locked away with a combination lock.
Oh, is it with a combination lock? No, they put that in later.
They do put that in later, but
that's after they decide that's where they're going to store the Asphyx.
yeah, so nobody else can get in there.
Yeah.
But they haven't quite got there yet.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, because he sees this smudge again on the film.
And it's moving towards his son instead of away from it.
Yeah, so this is already a major theory.
Yeah, they're trying to figure out what that thing is. So,
and this is where Giles is getting a little inquisitive and starts getting drawn into Hugo's obsession. And I think this is a way of him trying to deal with his grief a bit. And I think he's always been on this exploration towards immortality. He keeps dodging questions from Giles every time he's trying to explain what he's doing. Well, I'll tell you later, but here's a little bit,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just enough to keep you interested and keep you helping me, but not enough to reveal my true intent.
Yeah, true. Which is strange because it seems like Giles is the one who tries a little bit harder for his father's affections because he knows he's the adopted child. Plus, he wants the blessing for him and Christina.
Yeah, and they're not sure how to move forward. They're like, okay, they come up with this theory of the Asphyx based on this legend, what this might be, and talk about possibly capturing it and how to discover more about it. They can't just go around killing people.
Well, and there's actually a great bit there where they're talking about it, and Giles is like, "You can't possibly be thinking what you think you're thinking." And Hugo goes, "No, I'm not thinking about murder. That would be that.
Oh no,
I'm not about to go that far." Right? Like
But he's like, we just need to find somebody that's at death's door.
Yes. And they do.
Yes, enter Sir Edward Barrett. They already talk about him a little bit. He's a good friend of Sir Hugo's, and a part of that society again.
Yes.
And
president of that society, actually.
Yes, he's the president of that society. And he comes in, and they're also leaders of the community, and a judge has brought back a public execution after well over a decade of not having one. And they're kind of appalled.
Oh, yeah. No, they're part of the society where they want to outlaw the public. They want public execution to be outlawed.
Yeah.
They don't want it.
Yeah.
So it's a very progressive film in that respect. Like, I think Sir Hugo in and of itself, because I think he's so dedicated to science and everything, he's more progressive than everybody that's already there.
They really are the liberals of this era.
Yes.
Yes. Initially, Edward Barrett wants him to come and film it for the future and say, hey, this needs to change, and here's this evidence for it. And he's got his moving picture camera and everything.
Yeah.
So, hey, this is a perfect opportunity. And then it kind of clicks in, like, Hugo is pretty incensed by this whole thing. He's like, yes, I've got to do this for the public good. And then there's this light bulb, like, well,
I can also
two birds, one stone.
Yeah. And Giles knows this. Giles is not impressed at all.
No. Giles is, for the most part, shocked through most of the film. He's appalled about all of it, but kind of goes on with it. Like, okay, well, this is what science is.
Yeah. But yeah, he's sort of like, no, it's like, I don't mind. I think part of it is like, I don't mind you doing it. Just don't lie to yourself and don't lie to me as to why you're doing it.
And I think you're right. I think that's more sort of his thing is like, be honest with yourself. And
because he's tried to put this moral thing out there of why he's doing it.
It's like, for the good of science. Yeah, but where is that line? That's the other major theme of this movie is where is that line? Yeah. How far do you have to go?
I mean, at the same time, he's taking advantage of an opportunity that's presented in front of him. He didn't put this criminal to hang. So,
and while he
does say he can't save him
at the same time. I think that's the thing that bothers.
Yeah,
he's got conflict with himself.
He shouldn't be so happy of this happy coincidence.
Yeah. And that's where more happy accidents happen at this terrible thing. Yeah, so he's at the hanging. He's got this big light, this chemically driven light, which is interesting. It's this chemical this acid that drips over crystals to create this phosphorus.
It's just water and blue phosphorus.
Yeah. So this phosphorus light that projects onto the subject. So he turns on the light as this guy's hanging and begins recording, and it actually holds the Asphyx.
And terrifies the crowd because everybody can see it. It's awesome.
Oh, yeah. Well, and what's funny is, like, you hear some of the murmurs from the crowd, like, oh my God, don't stop the hanging. He must be innocent. Like, I think some of the people there think it must be like an angel. I'm like, oh, really? Now you get a fucking conscience?
Well, there were picketers at that, so there was a mixed crowd. Some people going out to see it and other ones there to protest it. Yeah. So,
but after
you're
they
going
see
to have
it,
that
a lot
reaction.
of people are like, "Stop the hanging."
Well, I mean, they don't even really get into the religious implications of this too much in the film. I mean, at one point, Hugo does say, "Hey, when he's seeking immortality, if I die, that's God's will. If I'm supposed to be immortal, that's also God's will."
Yeah.
So, I mean, they bring a little bit of that into it, but
and certainly at the end, there's another bit there where he's talking about God's will.
Well, and I would have liked to have seen more. This is about the only time we see his experimentation in public and the public's reaction to it. I think that needs to be an ongoing concern because it's out there now.
Yeah.
I mean, they've seen it. This is a very public event, and this is the early parts of industrialization.
Yeah.
So, the old ways and everything else, I could see how some people might find this.
Well, and there's industrialization. There's also like some more education was happening.
But
people could be able to read. There's like a little rags goodbye.
Yeah. I'm not saying, that they're not educated, but the religious implications of that and how that would affect society, because you're talking this is early England, so you're talking a very Christian and Catholic society.
Oh, see, I was thinking a different thing.
Yeah, you totally were on a different track.
We're on a different track, yeah, because I was thinking of the whole thing as like where this becomes a thing where Sir Hugo, people are like, what is he up to? Like the public is sort of kind of wary of him,
Well, then as well they should. I mean, they've had their religious beliefs challenged in that very moment, and you're still, like I said, there's still very much of that old regime there, and that old way of thinking, and what's this witch doing? And I'd love to know what the public reaction would be in like the papers, those penny papers and stuff.
Yeah, and that's certainly something you want to add to Remake is because this was, you're right, very public, and I mean basically.
And how would that affect Hugo?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. And his experiments.
Yeah. Like I'd want Sir Hugo like to kind of there be like all of a sudden a Victor Frankenstein edge to him where people are really scared and they're not.
And as well as they should be, because here's something. I mean, people are always.
They're like, what's happening up in that giant mansion?
Yeah, people are always scared of the unknown. There's always fear of the unknown.
People now are afraid of the unknown.
Yeah, no, nothing's changed. So
humans are terrible at getting better.
No, so I mean, this is, I think, a very important aspect of the film that just never gets explored.
Yeah.
No, and I mean,
I think you totally do. That would be wonderful.
Right? But I mean, and we did watch the extended version, but there wasn't that much added material. That's
no
right. So I think they had to make some decisions.
Yeah.
Oh, sure. I mean, it's 1972, so you got to keep your budget down. They kept the locations basically to that mansion and that one exterior. So, it's a fairly cheaply made film.
Yeah.
Keep your budget down. You don't want to... You just didn't have the budget for the sets and things like that. And, they were actually going to remake this film back in 2009, and it was, again... They couldn't find the funding for it. It was going to go into pre-production in 2011, and Black and Blue Films could not find the budget for it. It even had a star with Alison Doody and a director in Matthew Magoochen. Yeah,
nice.
But they just couldn't find the funding for it. So your loss is our gain because we get to do it now.
Exactly. Yeah, there's like a lot of stuff to explore in this movie, and you could really expand the universe a bit as well.
Yeah, well, with the freedom to start moving into Victorian London,
Yeah.
And
this could be a franchise if you do it right.
Yeah, and I
Well,
like
you could.
I like
Yeah.
it adding maybe a little bit more with the Parapsychology Society. I would like to see some of that.
Which was kind of, aside from that opening bit, and the reappearance of the president of the society showing up a couple times for different reasons.
Yes.
Right? And they don't really touch base on that or their relationship very much at all beyond...
I mean, they're more in a country mansion, but I'd almost move this right into London. You could, and it wouldn't change much other than the fact that now you've got the biggest city.
Yeah.
And you could really play with the press and the outcry. And
Yeah.
True. And
the
you could also...
controversy.
And the search for people who are about to die could go to like kind of a darker place.
I mean,
Well-
it went pretty dark for the time.
Yeah, well, I
Yeah.
mean, at one point they find a street person who was dying of tuberculosis.
Yeah.
and
He's being horribly mistreated.
which was, it's funny because it's at one of his own shelters. Mm-hmm. His own bed houses. It was called the Weed House, or no?
The Wheelhouse. Yeah. Well, it was the same one that he found Giles at. That's what they mentioned.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, it was the same place. It's clear that this guy was going to die.
Yeah.
But this was after he'd experimented with a guinea pig.
Yes.
The guinea pig's important.
Yes, the guinea pig's
Yeah.
important in a lot of ways.
Yes, 'cause
he
they-
poisons a guinea pig.
And just as it's starting in the death throes, they experiment. They get the light and capture the guinea pig's Asphyx. It's really small.
Yeah.
It's a little tiny cute
as
Asphyx.
it screams
Oh,
like
it screeches
incessantly.
through the house. It's just this big ass house. So
Oh.
like it's not small. So imagine what a people sized one sounds like.
And
I
it
know.
did sound like a guinea pig scream.
Yes.
did.
Oh, it did.
And I think that was the sort of part of the idea was that it was going to sound like a guinea pig screaming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they take the light, move it over to this chamber that has another light,
Yeah.
and then they use it to hold it in. And then,
Yeah.
it's the crossing of the streams. There's some tweaking involved to get the other light in the box a little more powerful than the one they're using. And then...
Yeah.
Then they close the door and they've captured it. Now you have an immortal guinea pig.
Yeah, and
who
the
can't
container
die.
itself, what it is there's water at the top and has to drop on the crystals. As long as that water's dropping on
It's
the
not
crystals.
water. You keep
it's
saying
fine.
it's water. It's
It
not
is.
water. No, they actually say in the thing it's concentrated acid. They say in the film it's concentrated acid that drops on the crystals because at one point he threatens to drink it as a thing. But no,
There's another point where he says it says the water, and I think
I think
They
that
did
was their
say water
term. I think
once.
that was their term for it, but it was a concentrated acid that dripped on the crystals.
Okay,
It's a
'cause I'm
they
wondering how
called
they
it a
got the-
phosphorussic acid, which makes no
Yeah,
sense
well,
whatsoever.
then that
It's
really-
terrible science.
then I have questions about how they got a pipe down into the mausoleum with acid in it.
Who knows?
who knows? Yeah, we know
Because that
this
was the
plot.
pipe downstairs.
Movies.
Yep.
I know. Okay, then we got to do something about that.
Yes. Yeah.
It's steampunk movies. I'm not even going to try to explain it. It's one of those things that doesn't matter.
You know what? I would actually change it to water because it makes more sense. Because honestly, if we get through this whole movie and like he can't, I don't know how are we going to get to the end bit.
No, I don't want to reveal that just yet.
Okay. I can point out
Dance
why
around it.
I can point out why it won't work because there's a portion of it where you have to have a constant stream of this acid, and if nobody's there to refill it,
Yes. Right. At some point, the Asphyx would get free, and he would become mortal. Right.
yeah.
That's true.
Yeah,
So if we change it to water, it actually makes more sense.
Yeah. No, and I agree with you. That's without revealing the end. Yeah, it would have a bearing on the end of the movie.
Yeah, it makes more sense to have it. Yeah, you're right. It should be water.
And water. And
We can
phosphorus
change the
actually
thing that's
do
in there. Yeah.
Yeah.
create a chemical reaction too, so you don't need acid.
No.
No.
But
Simple fix. Done.
when the pauper tosses the acid in Hugo's face, which it doesn't really look like the same acid.
No.
Because
No.
it almost looks like somebody jerked off in his face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or he's just had like a rash or
I
a little
would
minor
actually
sunburn.
ditch that part anyhow. It's completely unnecessary.
It is.
Oh, yeah, no.
Well, for a guy who was very comfortable in his death, like they had provided a doctor who said he wasn't, he only had a couple of days left, and he'd agreed to this experiment
because he'd be comfortable in his dying days.
Yeah, although they obviously didn't explain if the experiment went well, he'd live forever.
Well, it wasn't even just that. He'd be comfortable in his dying days, but I think they were also going to bury him like a gentleman, like
Yeah.
he wasn't going to be in a pauper's grave.
yes,
Which was also quite important to him.
Yes.
he was gonna be buried with the aristocrats, and that would
'cause, yeah,
have
he was-
good bearing on his family.
Because he was a guy who had been successful and fallen on hard times.
Yeah.
Right. He made it clear that he wasn't always a pauper.
Yeah.
No.
And honestly, if he hadn't had that weird freak out moment in his death and throwing the acid in Hugo's face, he would have lived forever.
Yeah.
It was that distraction that kept
And-
them from holding his Asphyx.
And you
Yeah.
need that distraction, but I don't know if the acid's the best way to go, because I'm sorry, Hugo is a scientist, and he would not leave an open container of
No.
acid just like floating around his.
Just hanging out with the guy who's dying.
Yeah.
Yeah, it made no sense.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, there could be something like he knocks over the light, something like that.
Yeah, and I think that would make a lot more sense. Is he's maybe he's just freaked out by this thing. Yeah, I'd actually maybe instead of knocking over the light, he knocks over the cage that would capture it.
Yeah.
Ooh.
So
Yeah, so then that kind of goes.
yeah, and maybe break something and they can't capture it.
Yeah, he tries to flee from the Asphyx.
Yeah.
Right, which would make sense.
Yeah.
And creates chaos on his way out, and breaks the cage. Yeah, that would
Yeah.
make way more sense.
Thereby ensuring his own death.
Yes.
Which is important because we don't need him to be immortal.
No.
Oh no, you kind of need this experiment to fail.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's the nature of experimentation. So, and thankfully they didn't kill the guy. They just,
Yeah, no.
he was already dying. But again, there's some moral gray area there.
Yeah, like when you're talking about like the real moral gray area, I'm like, oh my god, okay, this is really out there. But if we're talking Victorian England, you go like, if you're talking franchising or like expanding the universe, like a Jack the Ripper thing, well, they come upon a prostitute right after she's been gutted.
Now, this is the first. Christine has been kept in the dark this whole time, and she's getting a bit
Because,
frustrated.
yeah, Sir
She's too
Hugo
delicate.
doesn't
She's a
want
woman.
Yeah,
Right.
and
Yeah.
they keep thinking it's the Victorian era London. That, like, we just need to protect her. I'm like, what are you protecting her from? But anyway, so she actually wanders in the middle of all this. and screams when the acid is tossed in Hugo's face, and who knows what she's screaming at. There's also this weird spirit floating in the middle of the air.
Yeah, really? Did she come in through that one? I thought she only came in when it was Sir Hugo was getting his captured.
That was
Okay.
Comes in on that one too, but she sees him getting burned.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And yeah, she stays by his bedside. It's like, no, I don't want to remove your bandages. She's like, what is going on?
Yeah.
Yeah, and by removing a lot of that, gives you some time to build on the whole public
Yeah.
perception of Hugo and his experiments.
Yeah, you just need to see her at the bedside, and then you could cut away.
You don't even need it anymore
No.
because he's no longer been injured because we got rid of the acid.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
He hasn't. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, and you could just use that time to like grow the tension between Hugo and his daughter. Like she's kind of having a bit of enough. She's like, stuff's going on in this house that I need to know about.
Right? And Hugo and Giles and his daughter, because this is creating a tension with all of them.
Yes. Yeah, it's also keeping Giles away from them as a couple.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
she
Giles
feels-
is already questioning how far are we going to go, right?
Yep.
Look at how disastrously this failed. Right? So yeah, you could build a lot of that and the public perception you wanted to bring into it as well.
Yeah, and I didn't understand how this was the moment where Hugo decides he should become immortal. Now that he's got this horrible scar.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not sure what drove that exactly.
I think, short answer, just the narrative necessity to have it happen at that
Of
point
course.
in the film. But I think what we need to happen, I don't know, maybe something with Sir Hugo, maybe you need one more before Sir Hugo decides it's time. I don't know.
Well, they can't have a success beyond the guinea pig.
Well, I mean,
Ooh.
there's this big discussion between Giles and Hugo about the future. You know, he's already his fiance's died that was going to provide more children. He's really Clive's gone. He's really worried about his line ending.
Yes.
Yeah. Well,
So he wants to, and he thinks it's important that he's there to also guide society in his role as a leader. He's justifying these things through, okay, well, I need there to be there to help move science along and guide society and to keep the family line going.
Yeah, that arrogance that I was talking about earlier in the film.
And so there's just
Earlier,
more
right?
and more. It just feeds his obsession. You had an idea, so go.
I had an idea where it's sort of the point being that he has to kind of flip to it being him who's immortal is because maybe at that point he's decided it's become too dangerous to find somebody else to do experiments on. It might as well be me. Like, he just goes that route after all the public outcry.
Because he's already given up. Yeah, because he's already sort of lost his children and his family. He doesn't have much to live for except for Giles and his daughter, right? So that makes a lot of sense. Actually, it's like, you know what? I'm just
the only thing that he lives for is his work right now.
Yeah,
It's all that's driving him, and he's not. I mean, that's another, I think, important nature of the film that doesn't get explored enough is the nature of grief, and how he's avoiding it,
and how he's truly avoiding it, and there's something that they talk about him, his bloodline, and his name not being carried on, but Giles carries the name Cunningham, so if you were to marry his daughter, the bloodline would go on under the name.
For sure.
So that could, and they skim over that, and I think that would be a really great way to sort of allow him to justify taking that risk.
I think in his eyes, like, he needs his own blood to move on.
But that would be his daughter.
Through his daughter, yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's Victorian era and Sons, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's you know.
Well, it is, but there's a loophole. It's a built-in loophole that he can.
Sure, it is.
Yeah. Right, that we could make use of in a remake.
Oh yeah, see, in my remake, I went with the whole thing where all of his children are adopted, and he was marrying Anna to have biological children.
See, I like that. I totally see that working.
It looks like
which also makes him want to be immortal because then he could have children.
Yeah. Considering in the remake that they were thinking about, I found no knowledge outside of they had a star in Alice and Duty, which tells me that they were going to gender swap.
Yes.
Yeah,
that's about all I kind of know. Which I don't think
not
that's going to work.
Necessarily, she might have been Christina.
Oh, could have been.
Might have just not had a Sir Hugo at that time.
Yeah, I don't know.
You never know.
Yeah, you never know. But yeah, this given if you kept it in the same era, which I think is important for this film, you couldn't successfully gender swap.
No, I don't think so.
I don't think so. Unfortunately,
I think you could with a Mary Curie kind of angle, like that type of lady.
I mean, possibly. Yeah. I don't think I would, but I would certainly.
You'd lose a lot of the key elements of the lead characters.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, there's some of the motivate. You definitely lose a lot of the motivation.
Yeah. I would up her sleuthing a bit, but
I think
I'd like to make her a willful,
a more important, more engaged character.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
Other than the screaming damsel in distress.
Yes.
Yeah. See, like I would make her more significant because I think they have lots of telling ideas about who Sir Hugo is. Like, he is very liberal for the time, so I'd like to see him as that man who ensures that his daughter is very well educated
and is entitled to her own opinions
and knows about science and all that other stuff.
And you do get the feeling that all of his children are very wise and smart.
Yeah.
So even the adopted one.
Yeah, well, because he saw to make sure that he thought it's very important for them to have knowledge.
Yeah, knowledge, moral structure, religion. I mean, they have it all. So they're very well brought up.
Yeah, no, and I like Trish's idea of the whole, at least Giles and Christina being adopted, and Clive being his only blood-born child or natural-born child, and then of course with his death, and the death of his fiancée, who is going to give him more natural children, just throws him off the deep end.
Oh yeah, that would make him go insane.
Yeah, and then that would also eliminate that whole carrying on the family name, because Giles and Christina could do that. It was just that. So that eliminates that loop, that continuity error that I observed in it when I was watching it the first time.
Yeah, I just feel like kind of drives more of that obsession.
Yeah. Okay, well, obsession also drives him to immortalize himself. That was the word they coined in this film.
Yeah.
Immortalize. And his method of execution, his method of...
Crazy.
Is crazy. He creates the electric chair.
That he operates himself.
He operates himself.
Yeah.
Neither one of them thinking that they needed two people to run the lighting, because there needed to be somebody on the and they still have the drips on the light. It's a drip system, drips down on the crystals, so it's on the box and the light.
But the shutter to the beam of the light transmitter has to be held open.
Yes,
because he didn't think that far ahead.
So they're doing this. He's getting electrocuted, and he's got the Asphyx held in stasis on this light, and he's like, oh shit.
Yeah.
They just realized that, and thankfully Christina walks in. She's freaking out, and she's like, no, hold this,
Don't touch him.
Don't touch him. Like,
Yeah.
she's about to go grab her dad. Like,
And-
don't touch him.
Yeah. I love that bit where he's like, whatever you do, because he knows she's going to get electrocuted. But I like that idea, but it's so funny that they just totally forgot
Yeah.
that you need more people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. That might need to change too.
And like a switch that needs to go on.
No, I think going with Jay's idea that he would empower his daughter and have her more involved in their lives is after the incident with the pauper, they confess up with her and get her
That's
engaged.
where you have to do it. I mean,
Yeah.
you can't really keep it a secret anymore.
No.
See, and I'd like her to
I mean,
be
she doesn't really believe the immortality part, but
No.
she's already seen things.
true.
So that's the time you bring her in.
Yeah.
And I think she could be in it, but like be very against it and like almost throw the whole experiment into disarray because she's upset by her father dying.
You can bring her in right at the beginning of the electric chair thing. You could still have her rushing towards the chair. No, get your ass back here. Hold the light. And then...
Ooh, have her buy the container.
Sure.
And she's doing the container because you've got Giles running the beam because he knows how.
Yeah.
And she's at the container and then
And
she
she's-
sees it and she's really upset. She goes to her dad and he's like, no.
Yeah.
Yes, get your
because
ass
this is the
back
first time
here.
she's actually seen one of the Asphyxes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that could work. I think that would work a lot better.
Yeah.
I think they're trying to create tension and drama.
Well, this would be the second time she's seen the Asphyx. She's seen the one from the pauper, so...
Well, I don't know.
But
if she
this
was,
time she'll know what it is.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, she was certainly unprepared, and she didn't get to see it for very long because there was a lot of chaos in that moment. She,
Yeah.
who knows what she was reacting to. This
Yeah.
guy's
Well,
death throes,
a
this thing
dead
floating
man.
in the air, and it's all done in a blink of an eye. So,
Yep.
yeah. No, I think there's be some more natural reactions to what's going on in there, and you can still have the scene play out very similarly.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why he doesn't continue to use this method, I don't know.
I don't know. And there's like, I love how they put in all the smoke because I'm like, he's going to get crispy.
Yeah. Yeah, and exactly. He'd be covered in electrical burns around his head, right? And
Like
around
he
his
might
wrist.
be immortal, but what he doesn't know is, do you truly recover once you're immortal?
Yeah.
Well,
and
I-
that question kind of gets answered later.
Yeah, and well, he's laid up for a little bit anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, he is laid up for a little bit because there's they study him, which
Yeah.
is excellent. I love the fact that they did studies to make sure that he was
yeah.
immortal, that he could not die.
I like that idea completely.
Yeah, well, there was still doubt in Christina's eyes for sure. She's like, "Wow, immortality? Like, I don't know what we just did, but what?" And,
All I know is my dad's not dead.
Yeah. So they. Yeah.
And some
so,
weird shit happened.
So he goes to spend the night in the mausoleum in an airtight coffin, just to prove it.
Yeah.
He wakes up and he's like, "Ugh."
Yeah, he's like, too much light.
Yeah. A bit of a Dracula moment.
Yes. I
I was
was
in my
kind of
head
an homage to him, actually.
Yeah.
I was like, 5 more minutes. Just 5 more minutes.
And it wasn't just you, but or just me, but I thought that coffin was way smaller than he was.
Yeah, it did feel
think
like
so.
a pretty small coffin, yeah.
So I don't know. Did he have his knees bent, or
I don't know. I think
I
it's
guess
probably
not built for comfort, but
no. I just think that's what you call it, a prop problem.
yep, prop problem.
Did either of you happen to find it weird that the cages were shaped like coffins as well?
Oh, I thought that was great. I like that.
I mean, I thought it was a nice touch, but yeah, I'm like,
And they have little windows in the front, so you can look at the little Asphyx.
I can see out at the world it's never going to get out to again.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
they were hiding the Asphyx in the mausoleum, so if anybody even wandered in there, despite the fact that it had a combo on it, it was combination lock. But just for happenstance, they would at least look like coffins,
Yeah.
which wouldn't seem out of place in a mausoleum, right?
even though they had these weird contraptions on top of them that were dripping water
glows.
and glowing.
Yeah.
Because
Glowing
there aren't
things
a lot of
inside that are
coffins with
moving.
windows.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Christina actually had seen the guinea pig
one.
Yeah.
as well, because she wandered in and seen the lab. And this guinea pig gets into some trouble because she lets it out and lets it run free
It
range.
becomes her buddy.
Yeah.
Right? Like he's her
It's a
her
pet.
pet. Yeah.
Yeah,
I think she just thinks of it as a pet. It doesn't really occur to her that it shouldn't be.
yeah.
Yeah, but that's so that she's seen the guinea pig Asphyx. She's now seen the pauper's Asphyx, so it makes sense for her for them to bring her in at this point. That's where I was going.
Yeah, and in the dialogue somewhere along the way, they do mention this piping system to go to the basement, so it's this continual flow, and it makes sense that they would now use this on their lights rather than the drip system.
Yes.
Which I would think I would prefer the drip system because you have more control over it, but and definitely less chance for accidents.
Well, I think he'd sort of do a combination of the constant flow feeds the drip system.
Yeah, so he built the piping into his lab as well.
Yeah. Which is why I think the water might work better.
Sure, I'm done talking about that.
I know, I'm just saying.
Yeah, so now they've got the piping, and like he said, he's obsessed about his line, and part of the deal with if it was successful with him, he said he'd immortalize Giles and Christina.
Well, he makes it contingent on his blessing.
Yes, and he kind of holds the wedding hostage for it.
Yeah, you can't get married unless you let me immortalize you.
Yeah, I won't give the blessing. And I guess back then it just doesn't happen. Like, well, fuck it. We don't need your blessing.
Well, they do if they wanted to retain any ownership of his property or
any title, any money.
Yeah.
If they want to be poverty stricken, sure.
And poverty was even worse then than it is now. I mean, you saw what happened in his little halfway house, right?
Yeah.
Where the guy dying of tuberculosis is scrubbing floors and being told, if you don't get these floors clean, you don't get a bed tonight.
Yeah, and he hadn't eaten in 2 days.
And he hadn't eaten in 2 days.
And he held his food from him because you made me look bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that would be why they really want his blessing, is because it's not the blessing so much as what comes with the blessing.
Right. That makes more sense to me. So, yes. Now trying to tell that to Christina.
Well, I kept questioning the whole thing. Is if you take the Asphyx away, sure, you're immortal, but I just kept the wondering thing, if he wants to keep the bloodline going, I don't know. Maybe it's because I've seen the Highlander. Do you become Baron? Are you able to
they don't
still
know.
just function properly?
And they never explain.
And they don't know
the aspects of being immortal. They don't know that yet.
Yeah, he doesn't know enough.
No, to put this burden on his family. But that's part of the obsession.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's done with experimenting properly.
Yeah, now he starts equating immortality to power. He's like, imagine the power. The power you would have.
And the funny thing is, I do have to say is, when he was talking about power, he was talking about power to do good works, right?
Yes.
There's an arrogance about it. I'm going to keep talking about his arrogance because he really is.
It is eventually his downfall.
Yes. But yeah, he's talking about how he can influence the world in a positive manner and watch it grow and so on. So it's not that he's selfish about his power, but it's still power that's driving him, or the quest for power, right?
Right.
Yeah, it's his arrogance. He's like, I have to be alive longer to help everybody else.
Yeah. Yeah, he's the only person who can do it.
But yeah, let's go on with the whole thing where they like to change the killing methods.
Yes, because I don't know. Yeah, exactly. In the back of my mind, I'm like, well, you're like a forebear to Jigsaw or something.
Yeah, well, I'm going, are you just bored with the way you die?
We got to keep things interesting. So Christina, they finally kind of talk her
into it. Use
the
dumbest method imaginable.
Yes, so if there's an accident, you're really going to die.
So yeah, he creates a guillotine. They even testing it out to make it sharp, make sure it works.
Yeah,
I mean, and it's part of it. It's the fear it would pulls the aspects in.
Yeah, and that being put in a guillotine with a sharp edge, I'd be petrified. I'd be crapping my drawers.
Yeah, it's the fear that drew the aspects in. And yes, the light goes on, and they hold it in stasis. Unfortunately, immortal guinea pig decides to chew at the piping, holding the drip system for the box.
Yeah.
So the lighting goes out as they're trying to hold it. So again, can't be in two places at once. He trips trying to get to the box and fix that, but in doing so, the guillotine rope comes loose.
He actually lets go of the lever holding the guillotine blade up.
Seriously, dude?
Yeah.
He could still hold the light. Make sure that's fixed.
Yeah.
Like, her death, that did not need to happen.
No,
and he blames Hugo, but it's not Hugo who did it. It was Giles.
Yeah. He was whole. Well, I mean, the guinea pig and Giles were wholly responsible because he could have held the line, let the Asphyx go, and then gotten her out.
Well, to be fair, I kind of blame Sir Hugo. I'm like, a guillotine, dumbass? Really?
No, well, and I mean, the whole idea was it wasn't about actually killing her, like, and that was the reason I went to the guillotine instead of the electric chair, so she wouldn't have to experience the pain of the electric chair. But still have that threat of death, because it's the threat of death and the fear, as Jay was mentioning, that draws the Asphyx.
But as we've just said, he chose the one method that if something goes wrong, it goes horribly wrong.
Yes. Well, and any method like that is going to go horribly wrong.
Yeah.
Or if something goes wrong, right? But it never had to happen. I mean, they could have put fail-safes in place, right, so that the blade would never, ever actually drop onto her neck.
Yeah,
right?
And that's the thing. Like, you were talking about how the fear is the one thing that draws it. Put fail-safes in place, but just don't tell her about them.
Exactly, right? She didn't need to know. She didn't need to know that it was a block to keep the blade from hitting her neck.
Exactly.
But it wouldn't have worked if for the movie she didn't die. So that's why she dies.
Yes.
Right. Ultimately, that's what it comes down to. Right?
Yes.
So that I understand his method, the reasoning behind changing it. I would make the accident maybe a little more believable and less a fault thing than a true accident. Something goes wrong. I would love the idea of the Asphyx actually having some power to affect things.
Yeah.
Right? Because so maybe that trapped Asphyx is affecting the guinea pig somehow to cause the problem.
Wait, there are a whole bunch of Asphyx movies. It's called Final Destination.
Ooh. I guess I've kind of gone into that territory, haven't I?
But I thought it was like a single entity in Final Destination.
Well, you just assume so.
I know.
But maybe their rogue Asphyx is trying to get their taste of freedom of their own accord.
Who knows?
Maybe influenced by this movie.
They escaped their moment of death, so they're trying to prompt it back to happening.
Yeah. Could be.
I don't know.
Could be.
Yeah. They just, in this movie, the Asphyx doesn't seem to have any kind of real consciousness. Or this is animal instinct to do whatever they do. But I wouldn't mind that they could affect things a little bit. Because, I mean, we're going for gothic horror, so you can step up the creep factor.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I was thinking. And certainly, make it the reason that she's dead.
Yeah.
Because it wants it so bad. And there's another creature that it can affect in the guinea pig, where instead of chewing on the hose, it chews on a rope.
Well, I mean, what if it's captured?
Oh, yeah.
You know, it's always captured fairly near to the victim.
Yeah.
So it could be just close enough to the device to, make the rope break or something.
Yeah.
While it's in stasis.
Yeah.
I mean, there's all sorts of things you could do with it, but.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it has, it looks like it has a physical presence, but I don't know if it actually does, right?
Yeah.
So, but that's something you could play on, right? Is add that physical presence to it.
Yeah.
Right.
It's multiple dimension aspect to it.
Well, that could play into the bit with the popper too. Is the physical presence? He can actually feel it, see it, and reaching out to touch him and grab onto him, and that could be what creates the whole terror and the breaking of things and stuff. He's actually tangible because of the light, maybe.
Yeah,
It's like kind of like a Harry Potter Dementor type of deal.
Yeah, I mean, we can
why not?
Borrowing from other series and movies and stuff like that. But why not? That have a side effect of the light being that they actually become tangible and can actually be interacted with.
Yeah, they're not just capturing it, but they're bringing it in temporarily into the real world.
Yeah,
and it's the light that keeps them there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Gives them substance.
Yeah, and then without realizing that's why there's consequences. It can reach out and pull on the rope and create her death.
Yeah, I dig that. That. So needless to say, there's a lot of guilt over Christina's death. And now Hugo's kind of has a turn. He's like, I can't live with this guilt. But he can't find the combination to the lock. He wants to release his Asphyx.
Yeah.
And this is where Giles sees an opportunity. And he has a nice line about Hugo's not the only one who can scheme.
Yeah, not the only one who can plan, I think it was.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So, but he basically begs Hugo to make him immortal first.
Yes.
Right. But he's got an ulterior plan.
Giles tells Hugo, was like, well, I'll do this, but your work must go on. You have to immortalize me first.
Yeah.
He's like, you may not be able to live with this, but I can.
But I have to.
But I have to, and if I have time, I need time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not really what's going on, though. That's
No.
his scheme is like, okay, well, you just killed the love of my life, and
I literally have nothing to live for anymore.
Well, yeah, and I was a part of that.
Yeah.
And he's much like Hugo. He can't really live with it.
Yeah.
No. But the thing is, Giles knows if he can appeal to Hugo in this particular way, Hugo will most likely go along with it.
Yeah. So, trap number 3.
Which is Giles' idea.
This is Giles' idea. That's true. It isn't Hugo this time. Let's build a gas chamber.
Yeah.
With a failsafe.
With a failsafe. Yes,
failsafe.
the oxygen. But the oxygen was his failsafe
Yeah.
For a reason.
for a reason. Yes. Because oxygen, pure oxygen, is highly flammable.
Oh, yeah.
At least they got that science right.
I like that bit.
And who knows what the other gas was, but maybe that was too. But
I think it was they're actually the gas used to flame to fuel their lights.
Oh,
they were typing right into the house system.
That's right. It was hooked up
yeah,
right up
those
to the
little
lamp.
hoses.
The piping was hooked up right up to the lamp.
Yeah.
You're right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's exactly what they were using.
Well, yeah, because that's like the gas. If they had the thing you stick your head in the oven, that's the gas that you're getting.
Yeah, so natural gas. So he was going to asphyxiate, essentially. During the evening, he had switched the crystals in the master light to just some harmless rock salt or something.
Yeah.
We don't really know what it is exactly, but
he swapped them out with something that looked
that
the
wouldn't
same.
work the same.
yeah. And Hugo's actually going to go through all the steps. He's like, no, I made sure everything was right. Because his plan was almost undone almost immediately.
Yeah, he's like,
And I
I just
liked
got to
that.
put them in there,
Yeah.
and then like he's like really, oh no, I did it, I totally did it. Don't worry. I love that bit. I'm like, don't oversell it, dude.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, it was a nice touch, right? But it also shows Hugo's dedication to his science, right?
Yes.
Right, is making sure that everything is set up properly, and his
He's
trust
already
in
had too many accidents.
and his trust in
Yeah.
Giles.
Yes.
Right, because he still trusts Giles. Giles is not his biological child, but he still trusts him and treats him as
and during the evening, like Giles
Yeah.
sneaks into his bedroom and on the study, he does find the combination.
He finds the combination.
and burns it.
And then puts it in an envelope.
No, he burns it.
He burns it and he puts the ashes in the envelope.
Oh, okay. Did he? I wasn't sure what was in the envelope that he gives Hugo. I just assumed it was nothing. But
No.
Hugo never opens the envelope.
No,
so.
he put the ashes in because that was the message he was going to give to Hugo.
you've turned my life into ash, and you're going to have to live with that forever.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the point of that
Yeah,
message.
And it was really great. Actually, it was a really great little message.
Oh, it is great. He just never got it.
No.
At that point, he feels like he needs to live in purgatory after what happens next, which is the light doesn't work. He starts pumping in the oxygen, and
got matches.
Giles lights a match. Bluey! Yeah. Everything goes bluey.
It blows up everything.
Yes.
Yeah. And so then at this point, Hugo's, oh my God, no. And then he's about to go downstairs to use the combination that he thinks he has.
Yeah. And then he pulls out the envelope, kind of looks at it, and then he decides to burn it
Yeah.
himself.
So he essentially on his own came to the same realization that Giles was trying to impart to him
Yeah.
through his own message.
Yeah.
So
You need to live
the
with
message was received either way.
Yeah.
Now, this cuts back to the beginning of the film,
Yes.
which we didn't talk about.
Because it's
which
different in the extended version than it is in the original version.
It
That's-
is.
I think that's why we saved it for
we
last.
saved it for last because that's where it initially was in the film. And what it was opening up on the second half of the tail end. So the last little bit, there's a car accident and cops arrive, and it's now 1972. And there's this nasty car accident. Most people are dead, and there's this body between the cars
Yeah.
underneath.
A head-on
And-
collision between two cars and somebody
Yeah.
in between the two
Yeah,
cars.
oh, this is terrible police work, but this cop starts pulling on the legs. I'm like, oh, this isn't going to end well. So he's going to get part of somebody.
Yeah.
But they pull
Yeah.
it out, and then
You hear this moan, yeah.
hear a moan, and then it cuts to the opening of the film. Mm-hmm. Now, skip back to the end of the film, we see the first part of that, and there's this really elderly dude who
With a guinea pig.
who
Yep.
we now know as Hugo, even though he's under this terrible old age makeup mask thing.
He looks like he's melted.
Yeah, no, it's not good.
No, aging for this long has not been good for him.
Like, that's the thing. He didn't realize that the immortality was, like, gonna be this bad.
Although, with the amount of scarring and deformation, I get the feeling he's been trying to kill himself a very long time.
And maybe that was what you were supposed to see, but he knows he can't die unless, right?
See, but the guinea pig looks perfect. If that's the case, the guinea pig should look like shit too.
Well, I mean, I'm guessing the survival instincts of the guinea pig are still intact.
Yeah, but I don't know. I don't know if he's trying to kill himself. He's just sort of given up. But I mean, I don't think killing himself causes his face to melt like that all the time.
No.
I mean, and who knows?
It didn't stop the aging process because he's now over 150 years old.
Yeah.
Right? I think it's just it didn't stop the aging process.
Yeah.
Right? And the guinea pig should have looked older, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Right? But I guess back in the time, they didn't have CGI to make a guinea pig look older.
An old guinea pig.
Yeah.
Well, part of this movie does look old even for its time.
Yeah.
There's... It wasn't even up to 72's technological standards as far as effects go, but
yeah, he's kind of at the bottom at this point. He looks like he's homeless.
Yeah, and that's
He's
kind
a
of how the
homeless
film ends, with this kind of ironic ending that he's now living as the pauper that he never wanted to be.
Yeah. And he can't even come die in a horrific car crash. He's still alive, and now he's suffering
after 100 years of technology, they would have figured out how to go. He could have just been chiseling it with a spoon for 100 years.
I know, right?
He could have got in there eventually.
Yeah, or just figured out how to turn off the drip system from outside. Cause,
that's the thing. Yeah, turn off the pipes.
Yeah. For a smart scientist, you're not that smart.
No.
Yeah, I mean that mausoleum must have had one impressive door. If he couldn't get in that combination lock. If he had 100 years, he could have been just trying every single combination.
Yeah, no kidding. He would have accidentally found it.
Or the impressive system, because that, it shouldn't be dripping that long. You'd expect, because, piping, even, in an older house, just regular piping, that goes into disrepair pretty quick.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, I don't know.
There should have been. He should have accidentally been had his Asphyx released at some point.
At some point, yeah. And that was one of the flaws I did see in this movie, and that's something we have to fix in our remake. Is how do we make it so that Asphyx or the containment is truly impervious?
Yeah.
Right. At least impervious to him.
Yeah. And let's start getting into that. Maybe we'll figure that out along the way, but let's do some casting right now. Yeah. This will be fun.
This will be fun. So I stayed British, obviously.
I think probably all of us did.
Yeah. So
I think it's safe to say I didn't with my director though. My director is Brazilian.
Mine is Latino of some sort.
I think he's.
Mine, I think, is United Kingdom.
He's either British or Spanish. I can't, or Brazilian or Spanish. I can't remember.
He's United Kingdom, but Iranian.
Very cool. Well, Sam, do you want to lead us out?
I guess I will. So I'm I only cast 5 people because I didn't. It's a small cast. So I'm a cast Sir Edward because he does show up quite a bit, and I think he could be used a little bit more.
Oh, the way we want to expand it, I cast him too.
Yeah,
I've got him.
So I went with a favorite of Trish's because I think he'd be really great in this role. Do you want to tell me who it is?
I don't know.
You do too know. It's Bill Nye.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
Oh, you're going to love mine.
Yeah.
You're gonna love mine.
So I did that was just to have him in there, and I think that sort of elder statesman would have been really interesting as the president of that paranormal society.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, perfect.
For my
cool.
Christina, I went with Dominique McElligott. She's been in a ton of stuff, and do you think I've noted any of it down? But she's in Homeland.
Okay.
Oh, okay, yes.
Okay. And House of Cards.
Oh, okay.
So she's been in quite a few things.
Nice.
Attractive English actress.
Perfect.
For my Giles, I like him, so I went with Tom Felton. I think he has the right look. He plays that Victorian look very well.
Mm-hmm. I like that, and I like to see him playing a sympathetic character too.
Yeah, I want to go against type for him too. For my Clive, I went with Aidan Turner.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so,
I almost did him.
Yeah, but I just wanted to just sort of throw him in there. He's about the right age to be his son. He's such a small part, but I wanted him to be recognizable. Yeah. Now for my Hugo, because I like the irony of this. I went with the gentleman who's got a reputation for dying in everything he does, and I wanted to do a movie with.
Damn it! I did the same thing.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I wanted to do a movie where he can't die, and I beat Jay to it. Sorry, Jay.
God damn it. Sean Bean.
Yeah,
But I have a question, though. Remember, didn't we have a Sean Bean discussion where when he doesn't die, things go terribly wrong?
and that's
here we
such a
are.
type. Yeah,
Like, it's a bad movie when he doesn't die?
He wasn't actually my first choice, and then it popped in my head. I'm like, oh, this is too good.
Yeah, see, I didn't. As soon as I'm talking about it, like Sean Bean, I love the irony of it.
I originally was going to put Kenneth Branagh in there for the dramatic
and
aspects.
he was my second choice.
And then as I was doing stuff, I was stumbling across other actors. I'm like, oh, that's just too great.
See, I went with somebody who was like a dead ringer for the guy who played Sir Hugo.
Yeah, and so a great minds think alike.
Well, I definitely had an actor in mind who would have been a dead ringer as well. I just didn't want to go that way.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I didn't think look was as important as capability as to perform that role.
Oh, this guy's very
Yeah,
capable.
that's where I was.
I'm sure of that. And you have a bigger lexicon of British actors than I do because I don't watch as much British
We watch a lot of British
film and television as you guys do.
We
watch a lot.
I think about it. I'm like, I just brought you into the show, and I'm like, we just come up with the same shit.
Well, we don't always, but every once in a while we tend to come up with the odd one.
Yeah, I thought I was
Yeah.
going to make it through. I'm like, oh, he's not going to do it. He's not going to do it. And then you started getting into that. I'm like, oh, God damn it.
Yes, yeah. Well,
That's hilarious, though. I love
because
it.
we have the same sense of humor as the
We
problem.
do. I
Yeah.
love the irony of the guy who's constantly dying.
Yeah.
He can't die.
You can't die, exactly. And then for my director, I went with Rodrigo Cortez, who did Buried and Red Lights.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
Yeah, because Buried's a really good one, but it's like such an enclosed space.
Exactly.
It's
So
great.
he's really good at drawing performances out and creating tension with a very little to work with.
Yeah.
And Red Lights, I remember I did see it and I remember liking it very much. So yeah, I went with Rodrigo Cortez, somebody who's maybe not so used and deserves maybe a little more exposure.
Nice.
Cool. Great choices.
All right. Me? I'm up. Okay. Sir Hugo, I went with Tom Wilkinson.
Okay.
Cool.
Looks
I
exactly
like
like
Tom.
it, and he's really good. Now, I went through a whole emotional journey with Giles because when I first saw it, you know who first popped into my head for Giles? Anton Yelchin.
Oh.
Because of the curly hair.
The curly hair and like that
sharp
romantic.
features, yeah.
I was like, oh man, he would have been perfect. Would have been so great. But I went a different way. Luke Pasqualino,
Okay.
I put him in there for Giles. And then Christina, I have, because this goes with my director, Sheila Vand, is the girl that I wanted for Christina because she's also adopted. I have like the 2 adopted children. For Sir Edward, I actually went younger. There's a young actor, he's Scottish, Eamon Elliott. He has a very small part in the Star Wars. There's a British TV show called Threesome that he's really good in. But I went kind of younger with that. Clive Matthew Bainton.
Again,
I
don't know him.
if you've seen him.
That whole, you have a bigger British lexicon than I do.
Yeah. Watch this TV series, You, Me, and the Apocalypse. He's the lead role in that one. He's quite good. Anna, had Joanne Froggatt. She's a British actress, like, but a blonde, and she's young enough for Sir Hugo. Let it make sense, like for a Victorian thing, but not so young it's gross.
Okay. I was kind of in that thing too because I was thinking Hugo's probably pushing 50.
Yeah, well, he has adult children, so
So I was figuring he was 45 to 55, somewhere in that range. I mean, because people had kids young in Victorian.
Yeah, well, his wife died at 23, and
Yeah.
she'd had two children in the movie. But
Yeah.
Yeah, and then for my director, Anna Lily Amirpour, who did The Girl Who Walks Home Alone at Night. She's got like a really gothic sense. Like I've watched that. I watched more of that movie without subtitles than I would normally because it was just really intriguing. And she's got another new movie that comes out that looks bonkers. She's got like a great eye and a very distinctive style.
Cool.
Yeah, it's funny because I actually had 2 directors in mind, but I had to go with the younger director. But I was going to actually get Catherine Bigelow to do it because I kind of like her sensibility when she goes dark.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, well, for my director, I went with Jay Bayona, the director of The Orphanage and A Monster Calls.
Ooh.
Yeah. So
The Orphanage.
The Orphanage is what kind of sold me on it.
Yeah, because it did have that gothic sensibility, even though it was set
Exactly.
modern in a modern time, wasn't it?
No, it wasn't.
No, it wasn't either. No.
And it takes place in like a large gothic kind of area.
Yeah.
Shot
So
really well.
I think he's got the right eye. Even though I haven't seen A Monster's Call yet, but that looks pretty cool too. Now, we already know Sean Bean's my Hugo, so...
Sorry, Jay.
Steal my thunder. That's
what happens when you go last sometimes.
I gotta tell you, I really struggled with pretty much the entire cast. I'd come up with something, and then as I was looking at somebody else, and then I'm like, oh, this person would be better. And so I flip-flopped on almost everybody.
It was I did flip-flop on the children. I flip-flopped a lot.
Yeah, I did too. In fact, I swapped my two sons right at the end here. I'm like, before the podcast, I put a little arrow and switched them.
Oh, nice.
So for Anna, because she's important, even though she's not in the movie very long, I went with Laura Pulver. She was in Sherlock and Underworld Blood Wars most recently.
Oh, okay, yeah. Which episodes was she in?
She was Irene Adler.
Love her.
Yeah. So she was great. For my Christina, another flip-flop, I had originally Jenna Coleman. Then I went to Carey Mulligan. Then I went back to Jenna Coleman.
Nice.
So I think I'm good with Jenna Coleman.
It's a double flip flop.
That's right. For Barrett, Sir Barrett, Edward Barrett, again, I kind of wanted him the same age as Sean Bean. So I went with Rupert Everett.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I love him.
Yeah, I don't need to go into his
and he's
resume.
He's good in like period movies like that.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. So Jenna Coleman is my Christina. For my Giles, I went with Toby Cabell. And he's been in Rock'n'Rolla, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. He played Koba. He's done a lot of mocap stuff. Okay. But I was really impressed with him in the episode 3 of The Black Mirror. And that's the one where they've got those memory chips in the eyes.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, I know exactly who you mean.
Great.
He's really good.
Yeah, so after watching that performance, I'm like, yeah, he's going to be my Giles, which I originally put him as Clive.
Yeah.
So my original Giles was going to be Domhnall Gleeson.
Oh, yeah.
Who everybody knows is Bill Weasley from Harry Potter.
From another Black Mirror episode.
The Revenants. He was also in one of those as well. Ex Machina. He's been in lots of stuff. So he now became my Clive.
Nice.
Assuming he could cover up the Scottish.
Yeah.
So, that was my cast there. So
nice.
Yeah.
Got some Black Mirror people in there. I love it.
Well, that's what I've been watching lately.
Well, it's that ending is that dark Black Mirror. It's like, be careful what you wish for crap.
Yeah, well, I've always a fan of things like Twilight Zone and The Outer Limits. So the Black Mirror, it's now that it's on Netflix, I'm just starting to get into it. So even though Netflix seems to wanting to push their season 3 at me, so I keep having to dig. I'm like, well, I'm not there yet. I want to roll season order. They won't let me.
That's the thing with Black Mirror, is it really helps because there is like a whole universe to be seen within that world.
Okay, yeah.
In the not so far future.
I'm just wrapping up season 1, so I got a long way to go.
There's like certain references in later seasons that are from
that's cool.
Season.
That's cool.
And I like series like that where even though they're standalone stories, they're all connected somehow.
Yeah. And I'm not in a big hurry to get to the American stuff. I really just want to stay with the British stuff for a little while because season 3 I think is mostly American made. So
yeah, it's through Netflix, but there's some British portions.
Okay, good. I'm looking forward to diving more into that. So any more thoughts about remaking this thing? I wanted to bring some more steampunky aspects to it. Of course, this is a horror movie, so up in the tension, as it were. I certainly like the idea of making the Asphyx being able to affect things and bring in a little bit more of that psychological horror into the film. Yeah. And when the deaths happen, they should be a little more graphic, I think.
Given this day and age.
Because there aren't many. Like, this is more of a family story. It's not really about the Asphyx so much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like, I don't know. They were trying to do something with the guinea pig, and I'm not quite sure what it was, but I think it was supposed to be that through line that
if you didn't make it immortal, this wouldn't have happened.
True.
Yeah.
True. But it's sort of, like you say, like the Asphyx being able to affect things. I want more of the haunting aspects of it.
Yeah, like it seemed when I was
Well, they
watching the
just
scene
talk
where it was
about-
chewing on the water.
They talk about possession
Yeah.
with the Asphyx.
Yeah.
Because I kind of got the feeling that there was intent. There was supposed to be intent there. Like it wasn't accidentally chewing on the waterline. It was being directed to. Like there was
right.
intent there, and that's where I was going with having the Asphyx is being able to affect things physically when in the light.
And I also,
right.
I would like to have sort of the idea that with the Asphyx, with it captured somewhere, like you can lose, you're a little bit off.
Yeah.
Well, what if the Asphyx is also part of the mythic Banshee?
That's what I first thought when I saw it.
Because you got that screeching when it's captured, and what if there's a psychological impact to hearing that?
Yeah, there could be
Like a madness of some sort.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I mean, clearly, he did go mad, right? I mean, that's ultimately that's exactly what happened. But and is it through the events that happened, or is it because he has?
What if it starts a riot during the hanging?
Ooh.
Oh, wow.
That could take it into a completely dark
Yeah.
place
Because
and-
of it's not just the shock, but of seeing this thing, but also
The scream can drive you mad.
It's actually causing a maddening effect.
Oh my God. And having them contained in the house.
And that would be
The
why they
servants-
never leave the house.
Yeah. But also like maybe the servants start to go a little squirrely and
Yeah, even though they can't
because
really
the
hear
vicinity of it.
it. Yeah, even though they can't really hear it, there's just that just enough of it on their
Proximity
subconscious.
is all
yeah.
it takes.
Yeah.
It's like that subsonic sound where you can't hear it, but
Yeah,
apparently
we as
it
an
can affect
audience
you.
can hear it, but maybe they're not hearing it the same way we are.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Ooh,
You
yeah.
have to
liking that.
still show it on screen, after all. But-
Yeah.
That's part of the danger of having them captured.
Right.
Like he doesn't think about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's an automatic self-defense mechanism. Mm-hmm. Is the screeching and screaming.
You're doing something unnatural by keeping these things captured.
Yeah, and you could that could up the horror and the terrors is
And that's
maybe
what we need to do.
yeah is maybe there's some deaths in here that are not related to the science but to the madness, right? Very deliberate, like maybe these servants that he's very loyal to, because remember he's going to pay for his butler's sister's medical care or something, right? So he shows that he's benevolent to his family, and considers his servants part of the family.
He's,
But
he's definitely a kind man.
yes,
I don't think he even realizes how bad his bed house has
Yeah.
gotten.
yeah, but you could have a suicide. Right?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah, they
a
go
murder
mad.
suicide where the servants when one servant kills the other and the other then kills themselves.
Yeah, and it always happens during the experiment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not sure why they wouldn't be affected running the experiment, though.
Maybe he did. Maybe he recognizes that. Well, maybe the thing is
Because he filmed it all. Maybe he has protection from that.
exactly because he's seen it or he's going mad. I mean, he's clearly going mad,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, he is clearly
right?
going
So
mad.
that could add to why the whole all attention to them behind them, right? Is he's going mad and he's
Giles, who was initially really against it, really gets drawn into it.
right, and that could explain why Christina's so adamant about not doing it too. Is because she knows something's wrong with her, but she can't tell what.
Yeah.
Right, like she's realized that she's not right. But so yeah, you could add a whole new element to the tension between the three family members.
Or you can add like a whole kind of steampunk level to it, like these he has like the headphones that go with his moving pictures, like he somehow has sound, but having that filter, it takes longer for him to go mad.
Yeah,
Yeah, well, there is no audio to his
Yeah, but I mean,
moving
you could add
pictures.
the steamy punky audio. I'm just trying to figure out a way
Yeah.
where he doesn't go mad as quickly than the servants, even though he's in the closest proximity to it.
but he's not. That's the thing is the people who are closest to that gallows would have been the ones most affected by it.
That's
right?
true. Yeah,
Right?
he's always
because
further away.
he's always a way back from it. With the camera and the light, like they're
And maybe
But for the
it's the
later
technology.
ones-
Maybe
Yeah.
part of the technology is keeping the effects at bay. Maybe there's a hum to the light.
Yeah.
You know, something natural that he's within the technology that's a bit of
or
a
maybe it's
barrier for him.
it's his proximity to the technology that's protecting him.
Maybe it's just his own dedication that's kind of keeping him a little more focused.
Yeah, it could just be something as that is he is of a strong mind, and or maybe just he realizes that something that it did something during the hanging, and they take to wearing protection. They wear they right. He knows something's not right.
He knows something's right.
Maybe just it could just be as simple as some cotton balls and
because he goes, well, I wasn't bothered by seeing it, so it must be sound.
Ooh,
right?
Wait. Well, if it causes people to go mad, that also would go into like the pauper goes mad when he hears it. That's how that accident happens.
Yeah. It could just further add to it. Yeah,
you could, but you could also have it. That's kind of what happened to Christina. She went crazy and she caused her own death.
Yeah,
maybe.
And then they could be like, then that would add that extra level where they really blame themselves because she was in such hysteria at the time.
Mm-hmm. Oh, everybody seems to have a freak out when that thing's captured. So, the guys, that pauper was on death's door and could barely move, and then suddenly he has a lot of energy and can fling acid and shit. So
and actually that would play really well with when Hugo died, when Hugo's like getting his capture, because he's strapped down in a chair.
Yes,
he can't get
do
out.
anything.
Yeah, right? he is yelling in pain and screeching. And
so that could work out really well. And that actually, I like that better than the fact that it manifests physically. Actually, is that it has this? It does have a defense mechanism, and it's that scream that will drive them mad. So
drive them mad and cause their own deaths. Like it helps ensure that they get their food.
Yeah. And you know what? And it's almost like a feeding call too, because it's going to create more deaths and more fear. So you're going to have asphyxes everywhere.
Oh yeah.
Right. And you could have so much fun with that in that riot scene, because he'd be moving.
He could be taking the moving pictures,
moving pictures, and moving the light around and seeing all of them. Right.
Oh, and that would be so freaky.
And capturing
we also
them.
got to make them look threatening.
For sure.
We'll let some special effects guy get in there, but definitely got to make him freakier looking, and instead of Slimer on Slim Fast.
And he'll show, like, he can show the parapsychology people, like, look at this. This is what I photographed when I was there. Like some of the slides, he's like, look at this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and engage them more. Like we said, we wanted to have the Paranormal Society have more.
Yeah, we want to create a more well-rounded world instead of this isolation.
Right, and he could be presenting it as something he's discovered without explaining what he thinks he can do with it. Mm-hmm. Right, and I mean, we could even have Sir Edward kind of starting to figure things out but too late to stop the climax of the film.
Yes,
right, because he's worried about the fact that the public is kind of witch hunting on Hugo, and he's kind of looking into things, and he's monitoring what's going on with Hugo, and the fact that he's isolated himself from the rest of the world. And you could have a lot of that. Could add just again more tension, right?
Right.
I love it, and it feeds into how he just goes off the deep end.
Yeah,
like it's great. Yeah. It adds that extra bit of like it can speed it up from a narrative standpoint without seeming too rushed.
Yeah.
Which sometimes that happens. You're like, why is he
I like the
crazy?
gas chamber. I wouldn't change.
Oh, I wouldn't change
any of the manners.
I think I'd keep all those.
Yeah, you just make the Christina's death scene a little more believable, and I
want to see a little bit of after carnage from these things.
Yeah, I want to show like her head like rolling to the side to look at them, and then just continuing to roll.
Yeah,
there's a look of accusation on her face first, and then
because you made a promise.
Because she's still alive at this point until they turn off the light. So she is fully alive until they turn off the light and let the Asphyx go.
Yeah, and
that's why he freaks out.
And that's why Giles has a lot of blame. Well, Hugo couldn't let his daughter live headless.
Yep.
Yeah, like that opens up a lot of stuff that we don't know about. How would she can she function?
Yeah.
Without her head, even though the Asphyx is captured?
I mean, I don't know if they'd invented duct tape yet, so...
Well, I just like that Victorian thing. I'm imagining the Bride of Frankenstein, just like some stitching. And a stitching, and it's Victorian, so a high collar. Yeah. You're really all set.
You're okay.
Yeah, but no, I think that was the thing, is they didn't know how they were going. They knew that her head would stay alive, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, without a blood flow, she'd be brain dead. Mm-hmm. So it'd just be this like blinking, mouth twitching thing. It wouldn't breathe.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's a movie, isn't there? A movie with like the head. Somebody keeps a head alive, and then the doctor whose head who's doing the head experiment comes back and like his assistant puts his head in the little head thing. And it's just a living head.
Yeah.
Well, they did that kind of in Reanimator, so
Yeah.
Yeah. And the man with two brains, kind of.
I love it when he sticks the head on the spike.
Yeah. I mean, it raises a whole bunch of questions. Is an animated head going to be functional? The answer is ultimately no, because there's no blood, no oxygen, no air.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So it would literally be a vegetable that blinked.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I think that, I guess the rule with the Asphyx is if, this is what I was wondering too, like with the Asphyx, if they captured the guy with tuberculosis Asphyx, he would have lived, but would
had
he
a really
still
bad cough.
Yeah. Would he have tuberculosis forever?
He'd still be weak and...
Like, would it be better to die
He'd feel like
healthy?
shit forever.
Well, and I think that by showing that Hugo had aged, it doesn't stop any of the bodily functions.
yeah, so I assume at
Yeah.
some point your body would overtake because it's not killing you, so your natural defenses would probably start overtaking
Yeah.
the disease, I would think. Or it would just keep eating away at him.
Until you became this immobile,
Yeah.
monstrous thing that was still breathing and...
Oof.
Yeah, no, it's a horrible thing to
Chilling.
imagine. And that's
Yeah.
why I said it could be a franchise, because you could take it into those places quite easily and have more... and have Hugo's madness, have him creating these...
Yeah. Well, you keep
Things
the
that
first
become
one-
monsters.
Yeah, you can keep him, and that's where the one thing with the ending, I don't know if I'd have the aging, because you could carry him over. Or maybe you do, and then have him pass it on. I don't know.
Yeah, but because they become monsters, right? They almost, by getting rid of the Asphyx.
Stop hitting your mic, Sam.
I know, every time. It's because I'm a hand
It's like
talker.
3 times.
I know.
I think you could have him aging slower, but make it very apparent he's gone really squirrely.
Yeah, right. and maybe, like I said, he is creating more monsters. He becomes obsessed with perfecting the process.
Yeah, there it is.
Right? So that he can draw the Asphyx out without truly putting anybody's life at risk, and a way to capture it securely for eternity. Right? Because we didn't really identify how you would do that, is because their method was flawed.
Oh, for sure.
In so many ways, right?
Yeah.
But by getting rid of the whole drip system,
Yeah. Now, if it is water, you could feasibly, if you had, because he's got outside the mansion his own water source, so he could just create a
Drip in
waterfall.
there.
I mean, they do talk about it as a cascade
yeah,
earlier in the film, so yeah, if it actually is water, then bang, you're good. You've got a natural formation of water that could just, as long as that source is continuing, and they've already got their weir, so sounds like they've already done their man-made things to
The dam.
to do that, so it could perpetually keep going as a natural sort of drip source.
Yeah.
But yeah, well, your crystals get depleted. That's the other.
That was the only other thing that I can't figure out how to fix.
Because eventually they should.
They should,
Unless it's like plutonium, in which case they all should have been dying of radiation poisoning.
Oh, yeah.
yeah,
They should have dissolved completely.
yeah. Unless it's unless they have electricity. They talk. I mean, right?
Ooh.
So maybe he uses water to generate a perpetual electric light.
Hydropower.
Yeah, like a
Hydropower.
windmill, like the water
Yeah,
thing. The water makes
generator.
the, yeah.
Yeah,
The
even
water
though the
wheel.
lighting was gas.
Yes, but yeah, because that was key to the thing, and maybe he hadn't gotten to the point of wiring his whole house. Maybe he didn't see it as
Maybe he hadn't invented the light yet.
well, no,
Yeah.
he'd have to invent some sort of. Yeah, it's tricky, but or battery. So it's tricky, but maybe that's how some way he's kind of
He's got some hydropower or something.
Oh, yeah, like
he
you-
had to power that electric chair somehow.
You can do hydropower for sure, and you can allude to like maybe that's another thing that he's done is he's sort of refined the containment system as time has gone on as well, like for his new experiments.
Yeah, maybe he figures out a way that by running electricity through the cage, it generates the light through
Yeah.
the materials of the cage. So
I probably should have researched when the electric chair was invented. Maybe it already existed. I don't
Yeah.
know. I'm just assuming he created it, but maybe he didn't. I don't know.
we'll go with that assumption because it's fun.
Yeah. But you know what? That's something our audience could do. They could
For sure.
fact check for us. And you can always tell us what idiots we are for not doing our electric chair research. over on Twitter at Invasion Remake, Invasion the Remake at gmail.com, and of course our Facebook page, Invasion of the Remake. And if you got your own ideas about the Asphyx, maybe a new title for the movie.
Yeah,
because both of them suck.
After a while, just Asphyx sounded funny.
We just got used to it, but yeah, the Asphyx is kind of a terrible title, and the Horror of Death is kind of dumb too. So.
Yeah. Oh, I only had one other thing to add. Is they are talking about the hanging, and I kept looking at like how short that rope was. There is a movie I recommend watching called The Last Hangman with Timothy Spall. And it's brilliant because they go into the whole kind of like science of hanging where it has to be long enough to break their neck because it's considered more humane.
You have to fall a certain distance in order for it to break your neck.
Well, they do talk about the results of a hanging in the film as well, and how it pulls on the spine and everything else. And
yeah, but it didn't look like it worked. And they had a guy at the bottom pulling down.
Yeah, that was actually really disturbing. Actually, that would have been the most disturbing part of the movie is when he was hanging onto that guy's legs, actually.
Well, that's why I like the screeching maybe causing some people were trying to stop it, other people were trying to keep it going.
Yeah.
And just playing on already a volatile situation.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. No, I think that's a good opportunity there.
It's a really great opportunity there.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah, and I love expanding it. And I do agree, like putting it like directly into London really puts it really kind of grabs like it's a whole new universe and it's there. It's not so isolated.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you can bring in London and the people.
Yeah. Well, don't leave us hanging out to dry. You can't leave us hanging. Support the show. Support the show by leaving a 5-star rating and a review over on iTunes. Helps other people discover the show, and that's always important to build your audience. So don't keep us your dirty little secret. Tell friends about us, and you can do that by leaving those reviews and ratings. You can also do it by telling people how to find the show that you're already enjoying. iTunes, Google Play Music, TuneIn Radio, Stitcher, Audio Boom, Player FM, Blueberry, even YouTube. We're everywhere.
We are everywhere.
Yeah, you can't not find us. We're not like the Asphyx. We're not contained in a room.
Yeah, if somebody's interested in this show and they're not listening, it's because you're actively trying not to find us.
Like it's weird. It's like we're stalking everybody.
we're there to be found. So.
Yeah. Please pay attention to us.
And if you get weird movies, like this was, I just found this on a list. I'm like, oh, this sounds odd and strange and cool. Let's do it.
And it was odd and strange and cool and a lot of fun to watch.
None of us had ever seen it before, and it's definitely got a Hammers film quality to it. If you're a fan of those films, go check it out. During the trailer, Sam discovered that it is a public domain movie. So
So it's an enjoyable little gem. Like you'd be amazed at what you can find, and we might not know other gems that you know about.
Yeah, absolutely. I had never heard of this film until just last week. So if there's cool ideas and cool films you want us to do, we're always up for a challenge. We call those fan challenges, and they're fun to do. They're some of our favorite episodes. So.
And we love these forgotten classics. Like if it's something that's really mind-blowing to watch, like this was I was kind of dreading it when I saw 1972, and then I saw it was set in the Victorian area. I'm like, oh, this is going to be so hard to watch, but it wasn't. It was actually really enjoyable. And please share more of those with us, because it's a lot of fun to watch these ones.
And that was the point of the film, to find these hidden gems with these cool ideas that may have not hit the first time, but are worthy of a remake. Why remake RoboCop? Because we already love it. You know, find that movie that kind of sucked the first time, but there was a cool idea there, and we could do it better.
Yeah.
Or a movie that was absolutely freaking genius and just didn't get the exposure, like Peeping Tom.
Yes.
Or something that's a bit ahead of its time. Like they just didn't have what they needed at hand to make it what it could have been.
Yes. So that's what we're there to do, to rescue these things from obscurity. So maybe that aborted attempt in 2009 will come around yet again, and we might see a remake of the Asphyx. But we've certainly given you guys the opportunity here to hear our version of what that would be, and maybe Hollywood will scoop some of that up.
Yeah, we'll keep our eye out.
We'll keep our eye out. we want a little credit. That's all.
Just we could script doctor some stuff. We're good.
We're good. Let's see what we're doing on the fly. We can commit some of this to paper. We're good.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that was the Asphyx 1972. It was a crazy fun ride, and I know it was an unknown quantity going in for everybody concerned. Even I was, by the time I got to Friday, I'm like, oh, I may be regretting this choice. and then I got through the end of the movie, I'm like, that was pretty cool.
It's wonderful when you get that delightful surprise.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, I love that.
I will say, when I was about halfway through, actually, no, I was probably about 30 minutes in, and my wife came down the stairs, and she looks one look at the screen, she just laughs, and she goes, how bad is it? And I'm like, actually, it's pretty good. I actually got to say that this time.
Nice.
But again, when you see those 1970s films, sometimes that's your response is, okay, how bad is it going to be?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially when you're talking about the early 70s horror.
Yeah, exactly. You really don't know because there's so much of it.
Yep.
Yeah, but for not being a Hammer film, it really fits in that camp well. So
yeah.
All right. Well, I've been Jason.
I've been Sam.
I've been Trish.
We're out of here.
Bye-bye.
Giles, I need your help. I want you to summon up my own Asphyx, to trap it, and put it in the vault next to my son.
Think of the future. Imagine your grief when Christina predeceases you.
You give me an idea.
What?
You love Christina, don't you?
Yes. Should you approve, we'd like to marry.
I had expected that. Help me to immortalize myself, and I will immortalize you and Christina. Well, what do you say? Let me tempt you more. Think, man.